You plan to be a firefighter or Miss Universe?
Hi, it's me. You can call me PP. Back there is my emotional support Oliver, and welcome back to my channel. I'm actually very surprised he decided to spend his time sitting on my bed because it is 73 degrees out. Concerning? Yes. Exciting for me? Also yes. But that's not the point. The point of today is 911 season 9, episode 6, entitled Family History. Let's talk about the mid-season finale.
PP's back!
Yes, you did hear me correctly. Episode 6, mid-season finale. Because I don't know what ABC's doing, but the first half of the season has just been whack. I guess all of the Thursday shows have been whack with their timing and their pacing because every show has ended on episode 6, but it's still on. Anyway, let's dive into the recap. We open the episode on interim Captain Hahn sitting at his dining room table trying to pick between the final 3 candidates for captain of the 118. And it seems like Chimney is having a hard time doing so because Chimney feels like no one is qualified to take Bobby's spot. Maddie comes home early from her book club because 2 women drank too much wine and got in a fight, and Maddie had to drive both of them home. And I'm upset that we haven't seen Maddie at book club. I would love to get a glimpse into Maddie's life. And also the fact that Karen and Eddie aren't in this book club, mean. Diabolical. I would love to see it. Maddie is trying to ease Chimney's mind about the captain's job and who best to pick, and Maddie's trying to push Chimney into wanting the captain's job because she says that, you've been doing it all of these months and you seem like you've been doing a good job. And Chimney's like, yeah, but I already told the chief no. And Maddie is like, just call him up and have dinner with him and then maybe change your mind. Maddie really said, what would happen if you just called Taylor up? Then Maddie says this really sweet line of like, no one can take Bobby's place, but maybe you, Chimney, have earned your own place, which I thought was a very sweet kind of way of framing it, of like, yeah, you'll never be Bobby, but you'll be Captain Hahn instead. Like, you'll never be Captain Nash, and that's okay. You'll be Captain Hahn. And I thought it was sweet. We get our first call of the episode with the Miller family barbecue. I'm pretty sure the last name is Miller. I could be wrong. Sorry if I am. But we see this guy whose name can't remember and his girlfriend, Libby, showing up to this barbecue at the park to meet the extended family for the first time at this family reunion. And as they're walking up, the boyfriend decides to drop the lore on Libby that his family is extremely competitive. And she's like, well, you should have told me that ahead of time. And he's like, oops. Sorry. The boyfriend's uncle and cousin then take some jabs at him. Some of them were kind of low blows, but that's what shitty family does, right?
Did Austin tell you about when I owned him at Cornhole and he cried like a bitch?
I cried like a regular person.
And they toss him a t-shirt, which I'm annoyed about the whole t-shirt because, first of all, they're matching t-shirt designs, but the colors are all over the place. The colors aren't like family tree branches, aren't like teams for anything like that. They're just all random willy-nilly, which I did not like. I needed a pattern on that, but we didn't get that. That's fine. It's not my family. But as the family are disagreeing about something, they're like, we should handle this Miller style. I think that's their last name. And Miller style is just this intense game of tug of war. And Libby, the girlfriend, sits out and she's like, nope, I'm okay. I'm just gonna sit over here. As the game of tug of war is going, we've got, one side pulling, the other side pulling. They're kind of going back and forth. We keep seeing zoom in shots of the boyfriend struggling to like pull his weight, literally. And it's clearly an even match tug of war game. Like, it's not like it immediately goes to one side. It's pretty back and forth. And during this whole time, as Libby is sitting there watching, she ends up eating something and choking on it. And as she's like struggling because she's choking, she's trying to get people's attention, but will not pay attention to her because they are too focused on the darn rope. Libby is thankfully able to like dislodge the object herself, and right after she does that, the rope that they are pulling snaps in the middle and both teams fall down. And then half of the family is like, oh my God, because their fingers are sliced off. The rope just sliced their fingers off. And I sat there. First of all, my mom thought that Libby, the girlfriend, was hallucinating this whole bit. She is not hallucinating the whole bit. It actually did happen. And then I Googled family reunion tug of war lost fingers because I knew somewhere this had to be a rip from the headlines thing because we know how the writers operate. I didn't find anything about a family reunion barbecue tug of war finger loss incident. But what I did find was this story about this man in Asia. I can't remember exactly where. It started with a T, but I'm not confident on where it was. But they didn't lose any fingers. They lost arms. Their arms got ripped off. Like, this is the goddamn most popular girls in school YouTube skit.
Van Buren, cheerleader. You guys, this is cheerleader. You guys,
Do you know what these are, Ashley Cachadorian? These are little girls' arms.
I saw this TikTok about it that I'll link up there. And the guy in the TikTok was saying that he didn't believe that this was true because it was like an article from when he was in college and it was from a faraway place and there was no real way to fact check back in these days. But it turned out it was true, and it had to do with the way that when the rope splits and it snapped back, that's what the force was. When the rope came back, that's what sliced everything off. Because I thought that people, because it was such a thin rope, that people were wrapping their hands around it and that's what sliced their fingers off. No, it was when the rope came back, it whipped back and just shrink all of the fingers of a family. So that, crazy. It was terrifying. New fear unlocked. But the 118 shows up and they are there to help save the day. We get new Eddie Diaz lore ? Unlocked, where Eddie said, oh, I've seen something like this. And Hen is like, oh, yeah, in Afghanistan? And Eddie's like, no, at the Boy Scout Jamboree. Eddie Diaz Boy Scout era unlocked? ? I would assume that would be Eddie participating in the Jamboree, but it could have been a call that Eddie was on. But his whole time as like a firefighter paramedic was with the 118. So anyway, Eddie Diaz had a whack-ass childhood with him being a Boy Scout, him being a ballroom dancer, him knowing how to hotwire cards. Like, this man he did it all. He did it all. But the 118 come in and they scramble and they're literally looking around this park for people's fingers. And at one point in time, one of the people, I can't remember who, finds 2 thumbs, and it's one of the thumbs is the boyfriend, and the uncle is like, dibs on the next thumb, and the guy's like, that's not how this works. Could you imagine if they were like, yeah, actually, we're not going to do any work to figure out whose finger is whose, and we're just going to Frankenstein your family's hands together? That would be a story. Then after that shift, we see our lovely LGB members, allegedly LGB members, at least our LB members, allegedly G members. And they're sitting and Eddie talks about this concoction that he makes of diet soda and protein powder that tastes like a root beer float. And Buck is like, oh yeah, I'm in. Ew. Absolutely ew. I can get behind protein coffee, like a little caramel protein shake with a little coffee, but sodium protein powder? Absolutely not. Do not put protein powder in my pop. No. Also in this scene, wardrobe department ate. The wardrobe department ate these fits up. They really did. Although it looks like Buck and Eddie traded wardrobes, but I don't care. They looked so good. But all of that to say that Eddie brings up this protein powder root beer float as like a way to like offer up an outing for the team. And so Buck is like, yeah, I'm down. So him and Buck are going to go hang out and do something. And they invite Hen. And Hen notices that she's getting a rash on her knuckles, which ironically, so am I. I think it's just dry skin. And she asks if they have changed like glove brands, and Eddie's like, no, I don't think that's what that is. And so Hen's like growing concerned about like this rash that is showing up on her hands. And as Eddie and Buck and I think seemingly Hen are about to head out, Chimney comes in and gives them like this like awkward speech of like, I'm so thankful and grateful to be your captain. You do great work. Thank you. And then the three of them are just kind of like, is he retiring? Why is this speech so awkward? What's going on? And one of them is like, I think he was just trying to show his appreciation for us, but let's leave before he does that again, because that was weird. I need to know if the writers' room watch my videos, because I swear they do, because I said that I wanted more Big Brother Buck content, and I got that, so I think they're listening to me. Next, make Buddy Cannon happen. Anyway, not the point. Big Brother Buck, he's at his house, and who shows up knocking on his door other than Harry Grant? Harry shows up at Buck's with his letter from the LAFD, freaking out because he doesn't know what to do with this information. And then Buck is freaking out because he's like, oh my God, does your mom know that you applied for the LAFD? And also, why did you apply for the LAFD? Were they recruiting from your high school? And Harry's like, no, I dropped out of high school. And Buck is like, you did what? Which is so funny to me because they've clearly been doing bachelor movie nights for almost like a year now, and Buck had no idea that Harry wasn't in school, because we have canon confirmation that Harry's birthday is in February. Harry was so close to finishing his degree and he just like didn't. Because if we had canon confirmation that his birthday's like in February when he turns 18 would have been his senior year. He just had a few months. Dude. Anyway, not the point. Buck grows more concerned about Harry and joining the LAFD, but Buck is really concerned about Athena, and if Athena thinks that Buck is the reason that Harry joined. Buck clearly does not want to upset Athena, and I don't think I wouldn't want to either. But the whole reason that Harry went over to Buck's in the first place was to ask Buck for his help, because Harry wants Buck to train him. We get a call that is quite triggering for Athena, because it is a young woman who has OD'd because of cyberbullying through text. May went through the same thing, so it was kind of like a flashback moment for her. Athena is able to get the daughter back, and the paramedics end up taking her to the hospital, and Athena tells the mom like, hey, I'm on the case, I will find out who has been saying these awful nasty things to your daughter. After the cyberbullying call, we get the call that was in the trailer for this episode, which was the med spa call, and it's this woman, it's her 40th birthday, and she's treating herself to like a peace of mind package where she's getting all of these tests done, and one of the tests is a full body CT with contrast. As she's in the room getting her CT, the provider, the doctor, whoever he is, injects her with the contrast dye, and she kind of makes like a little tiff about it, and the guy's like, oh, the lorazepam will kick in soon, and he sets her in the CT machine and goes out to like monitor whatever. And as this is happening, he takes a call on his earbuds and can't hear her, and the woman whose name was Caitlin, I don't know, I have no idea, but she is like struggling to breathe, and she's like panicking because she's in this thing. And if he would have been smarter and not had his earbuds in, he would have probably seen that and caught it better. This is a fat lawsuit waiting to happen, because once he notices that her scan's done, he goes back in and tells her what a great job she did sitting still, and then pulls her out of the CT only to see her whole entire face has swollen up. So he calls 911 and the 118 show up, and they barely have a pulse, but then they end up losing the pulse, and then they end up losing her altogether. As she gets like put into the CT machine like a pizza oven, the song that is played in the background is one that I recognize from TikTok of all places. The like light kind of piano song. I recognized it immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the song that people play in the background of their TikTok videos. And Lone Star did the exact same thing during the season 4 arc of the whole domestic terrorist situation. You know, if that's how I get exposed to new music, then so be it. Anyway, the allergic reaction that she's having, they asked like, okay, well, what could this be? And the provider's like, I don't know, we had all of our patients fast for 6 hours beforehand. Then the 118 kind of look around and they're like, oh my gosh, it's probably the contrast dye, which is a very common allergy. It's about 1 in 100, but someone with this severe of an allergy is a lot more rare, maybe like 1 in a million. It's like passed down genetically. Do you have any family history on her? And the provider's like, nope, I got nothing on this. And they're like, well, great. And Hen is getting ready to intubate her because they can't get, I don't really remember all the details, I'm sorry. They couldn't get her to breathe. Her heart wasn't working. But as she's doing that, we can kind of see her like have a little like involuntary twitch of her hand, and she kind of like stops it. But the doctor, the provider in the room, notices that. Despite their best efforts, the 118 is not able to get her heart started again, so they are taking her to a hospital to be pronounced there. The provider stops her and is like, hey, are you okay? I kind of saw like the twitch in your hand. And Hen is like, are you really trying to diagnose me? You're not a doctor, you're a salesman. And then kind of like storms off, rightfully so, because there's a lot of weirdness in that whole kind of elective imaging kind of situation type of. Anyway, we then get our Buck Harry training montage, which is so adorable because Buck looks so good the whole time. And we get this cute shot of Buck's fridge with all of these cute little pictures on it. One is, of course, this screen grab from the show of him and Christopher on the pier. Then there's a Madney wedding announcement, and I don't remember what exactly else is on his fridge, but I thought that was very sweet that we saw that. In this training montage, we saw a lot of other different bits and pieces of Buck's house. We saw his nice backyard and Buck having a hot tub. Crazy. Also, this is just my complaint about this. This is not how you knead dough, Harry Grant. That is not how you knead dough at all. This is the same feeling I had back in season 8 when Buck was baking at Maddie's house, and he goes and he takes his measuring cup and he dips it into the flour and scoops it out. And I sat there and I said, that is not how you measure flour. That is not how you measure flour. That is not how you knead dough. Come on. I get that you're men, but like, seriously, that's not going to build your grip strength at all, Harry. Anyway, I digress. That's not the point of this video. At Athena's police desk, we see her questioning all of the teen girl's friends. Oh, the teen girl's name is Alicia. Forgot to say that. And there's this clip that I don't think I could play on here, but I've seen it on Twitter and it's hilarious. It'll probably be on TikTok too. And it's of Athena Grant and she's like reading off the text that the cyberbully had sent to Alicia, the girl. And she just goes, what's a euphemism I could say? She just looks like straight into the camera and she's like, kick your own bucket, girl. She says a different word. Should I do an acronym instead? She says KYSB. KYSB. It's just really funny to hear Athena Bassett say that. Athena Bassett? Oh my God, I need to go to sleep. It's really funny to hear Angela Bassett say that. During Athena's questioning with all of Alicia's friends, all of them kind of seemed normal. They mentioned that Alicia's best friend was named Bailey. Bailey maybe could have been the one who did this because Alicia and Bailey just kind of like stopped being friends kind of randomly. So Athena goes to question Bailey and Bailey has nothing to hide. Let's get a prop. She literally is like, here, look through all my texts. It wasn't me. Wow, remember when home buttons used to be a thing? Yeah, the shit this phone has seen. Crazy. But in Athena's questioning of Bailey, we find out that Bailey wasn't the one to cut off Alicia. Alicia was the one to cut off Bailey. So the wheels start turning in Athena's head of like, what could be going on here? We cut to Hen, who is on the phone with her mother trying to get like a family history. She uses the guise of like, oh, it's a school project, which it's not. I think she's just worried about whatever rash she's got going on in her hand. And after she's done talking with her mom, she's like tying her shoes and she's doing something. And then she stands up and falls over and then stays there for hours, seemingly unconscious. And Karen ends up calling her multiple times because Hen was actually supposed to go and meet Karen, but she didn't because she was seemingly unconscious on the floor. And in this call with Karen, she doesn't tell Karen that she had some sort of weird medical episode. No, she lies. She lies to her wife. This action won't have consequences, will it? No. Our Grant girls have a cute little wine cheese moment dinner together, and it's very cute. And Athena's like, I don't know if I can accept my baby girl being grown. And May is like, well, accept it because this is so much fun, as she like sips her wine. And then she ends up actually spilling her wine all over the case files of the Alicia case that is going on. And May like tries to clean them off and then ends up looking at them and she asked her mom, she's like, did you leave these out so that we would talk about this? And Athena's like, kind of. And May and Athena have a sweet little heart-to-heart moment where May is basically just saying like, I've talked about it, you've talked about it, but like we haven't really talked about it together. But like, Mom, I'm good. Like I've been good for a while and I've been good because I knew that I was going to be okay because you were there. Hearing May say this, Athena starts to have the wheels turn in her head about who maybe was the one to send Alicia all of these hateful texts. So she goes to the house of Alicia and confronts the mom and is like, hey, we've got the subpoena for the app that was used to send the text to your daughter, which was like Phantom Phone or something like that. Can we have your phone to rule it out or whatever? And the mom is like, yeah, great. Let me go get it. The mom walks down the hallway, and as she does that, she's gone for like a little while, and then her phone starts to ring on the counter, and Athena's like, oh my God, this woman. So then she goes and notices that the mom has locked herself in the bathroom and was on her way to go swim with the fishes if you catch my drift. And Athena literally was like, no, you're not taking the easy way out of this. Buck and his cute little LAFD quarter zip make a comeback as he's waiting for Harry at the training center for the LAFD. Harry comes out of the training center and he looks genuinely pretty disappointed about what had happened. And Buck is trying to get information about him because he's like, you know, I trained you very well and we went over interview questions and you should have been golden. And Harry said, yeah, but I didn't know they were going to ask about my record. And Buck is like, well, that's fine. You don't have a record. And Harry's like, yeah, about that. We then see Buck and Harry at Buck's house, and of course Buck has to be a walking stereotype of every bisexual by not sitting on a chair but sitting on the table instead. And Buck is honestly just kind of disappointed that Harry didn't tell him about the altercation because Buck could have helped him prepare for this, and Buck tries to reassure him and it's just like, hey, it's a simple assault that happened when you were a minor. Like, it's not, you didn't commit arson, like you should be fine. And Harry's like, well, maybe, but I quit, so I'm not, it doesn't matter anyway. And Buck is like, oh my God, dude, why? Athena goes with Alicia to the hospital because Alicia wants to confront her mom about what her mom has done. And Athena's like, you know, you don't have to do this. And Alicia's like, no, but I want to, you know, classic line, but honestly good for her. Alicia goes to her mom's hospital room and she basically tells her mom like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did this. And her mom's defense was like, oh, I just wanted to prepare you for the real world or some bullshit like that. And Alicia's like, huh, interesting. Okay, well, I'm cutting you out of my life and I'm never speaking to you again. Bye. And then walks out, and Athena was able to bring Alicia's best friend Bailey, and they are able to go and, you know, ride off into the college sunset together because that was their whole plan, was to go to colleges together and be all these best friends. Buck takes Harry out for a dinner, and Harry is noticeably concerned because the place is very fancy, and Harry is like, I can't afford anything here. What are we doing here? And Buck is like, just trust me on this. And Harry notices a man walking, and Harry's like, oh my God, is that the chief? And Buck is like, yeah, you're gonna ask for a second chance. And Harry looks at Buck and he's like, you know, Bobby used to have this vein that would pop out of his neck when he talks about you, and I get it now. I get it. But Buck reassures Harry and basically says this like very sweet quote that I did not write down, and I will probably have to AI it over, so copyright demons don't nuke me. He basically says something along the lines of like, wanting what you really want, all that kind of stuff. I'll put it in here.
Harry, I know you're only 18. And you've already had a lot of loss, so I think you're so afraid of losing one more thing that you've decided you'd rather just walk away. But I promise you, giving it up is not gonna hurt any less than having them take it away.
And so Harry musters up the courage and goes and talks to the chief, comes clean about his record, and the chief is moved by this effort, and he tells Cadet Grant that he will see him on Monday. And Harry and Buck are like, oh my God, it worked. And as they are celebrating this, they hear Chimney butt into their conversation. They're like, oh my gosh, hi Chim, what are you doing here? And Chimney's like, oh, I was having dinner with the chief. And they're like, why were you having dinner with the chief? And Chimney is like, well. And then we transition to Captain Han's swearing in ceremony at the 118. It is a very sweet moment surrounded by all of Chim's co-workers, friends, and family. We get to see the Lees for the first time since the wedding, I think. And Maddie is the one who pins the little whatever onto Chimney, and it was just a very sweet full circle moment. Athena is there obviously supporting Chimney, and she has a sweet moment looking at the Bobby dedication plaque because she famously did not go to the dedication ceremony. And there's a sweet moment between her and her kids of, you know, just admiring this plaque and really holding that moment and that space for Bobby. And Harry takes this moment to let them know that he's accepted into the Fire Academy and he's going to be starting that next week. The 118 ends up giving Chimney a gift, which is a very nice watch with a little inscription on the back, and Chimney is overjoyed with this gift. And while he is kind of nervous for his captain job, he really hopes that he can make his team proud, which I think he will. After the 118 gives Chimney the watch, Hen goes back downstairs to the party, and she kind of stumbles down the stairs, and Maddie kind of like makes a comment to her, and Hen is like, oh, I'm just sleepy. And Hen kind of probes Maddie a little bit about her time as a nurse in Pennsylvania. I also believe that she was a nurse in Boston, but that's details that only matter to me. Hen asks Maddie about a patient that they had on a call. And the patient is it's Hen. She's asking about herself. Because Hen is thinking that she might have Lyme disease, but she says she's never been east of the Rocky Mountains. How could that be? What other things could it be? I have a lot of thoughts about Lyme disease, but you'll hear about those later. And Maddie gives her a couple options of what maybe that could be. If it's not Lyme disease, maybe it's mono, maybe it's syphilis. Like, if there's a lot of things it could be. But Maddie says, you know, wouldn't it be so great if you could have a CT in the back of your ambulance? And Hen is like, haha. Yeah. And then the episode ends with Hen going to this medical spa place that killed the lady, the allergic reaction lady, the Luna spa, to get a full body CT, and that's where the episode ends. We did get a trailer for the winter premiere. The show does come back in early January, on January 8th, and here's the trailer for the second half, the first half of the second half of the season. You know what I meant.
No, I gotta tell them I'm just not ready for this to be the end of my story.
Sounds like active labor.
She's dilated 6 centimeters. Eddie, glove up. What?
911, what's your emergency?
We got smoke and fire coming from the second floor. People are trapped. And you're on search and rescue. Firefighter Wilson, do you copy?
So this Hen medical subplot, I think, is what we're going to look forward to in the rest of season 9. You know what else I would like in season 9? Buddy Cannon? Buddy talking to each other? Maybe it would be nice if they could talk to each other. Chimney as a captain, Harry as a cadet, not even a full probie, just as a cadet. We'll see where that goes. I don't have a lot to go on, but it'll be interesting. Regarding Hen's like whole medical mystery thing, I've seen a lot of people grasping at mildly invisible straws, that it could be a complication of the CCHF, the Ebola's evil cousin from season 8 that killed Bobby. Maybe they were thinking it could maybe be a case like that, but I'm like, first of all, I don't know if the writers are that clever. I don't know if it would be Lyme disease. I have a lot of thoughts about Lyme disease because I didn't think Lyme disease was that common, but there are so many celebrities who have it. And I'm like, did you all get bit by ticks? Is it really all that common? I don't know.
Okay, editing BP here. I went on a little research spiral into ticks and all the diseases that they carry. Ken was right about the east of the Rocky Mountain kind of thing with ticks, because the black-legged tick or the deer tick carries Lyme disease, and that's found in the eastern half and the Midwest region of the United States. There is the American dog tick, which is east of the Rocky Mountains in some areas of the Pacific coast, and that one carries Rocky Mountain spotted fever. But there is also the western black-legged tick, which is found along the areas of the United States Pacific coast, and that one also carries Lyme disease. Even though she hasn't been east of the Rocky Mountains, there is still a tick in California that could have passed Lyme onto her. This is a map from the CDC that shows all the reported cases of Lyme disease in the United States in the year of 2023. So it's not super common in California, but it could still happen.
You know what else is common that I didn't realize is common? West Nile virus. West Nile virus. Over the summer, I had noticed there was an injured crow in my neighbor's yard, so I called a wildlife rehab place to be like, hey, what do I do about this? And they were like, okay, describe the crow to me. And I kind of told them what was going on with the bird, and they were like, oh, well, unfortunately, I think that's swelling in the bird's brain. I think it's just going to die because I think it has West Nile virus. And I was like, West Nile virus? That's a thing? And they were like, yeah, it's really common here. And I'm like, oh my God, what? It should be interesting to see where they go from there. Also, I'm annoyed that Hen didn't tell Karen about it, her wife, about her medical concerns. Maybe let's do that. Maybe let's inform the people that you love about the medical concerns that you're having, right? Because they could help you and maybe be a sounding board and maybe like bounce ideas and be like, hey, queen, it's probably not Lyme disease. Let's talk about maybe what it could be. I'm really excited for Harry's arc. You know who I really kind of wish we got more with? Ravi. I miss Ravi. I'm really glad he was included in the watch gift, but I miss seeing him on my screen. I love him, but I hate the fact that we've seen Ravi and Buck interact more than we've seen Buck and Eddie interact. Hate that. Also, can we talk about the fact that in the episode prior, they just dropped Abuela dead and then never brought it up in this episode, like at all. I thought with the title of this episode, Family History, that there was going to be some sort of conversation about like other people's family history and like other medical conditions. This would have been a great like resurgence of the Daniel conversation. This could have been a great conversation about Mara and adoption, but I don't write the show. Or do I? I do not. What do y'all think we're looking forward to in 9B? What are we looking forward to in 9B? And honestly, I don't even really think that this should be called even 9A because it was so short. It was so short. I literally feel like we just started because of how long that opening arc was. The pacing of this first half of the season has honestly been insane. And I think that's why, oh my God, apologies. This chair, not super comfortable. My tailbone, still recovering from an injury 3 years ago. I have a hard time sitting for long periods of time on uncomfy furniture. But this chair matches my desk, so oh well. I understand why they felt like they had to do a 4th space arc episode, but oh my God, it was so long. It was so long, and I don't know. I am not a network executive. I don't know how any of that shit works. If you knew that your season split this year was going to be 6 and 12, why would you make your opening arc 4 episodes long? 4 episodes long! Because if your season split was going to be 8 and 10 or 9 and 9, would have made a little more sense. But no. We've got 6 and 12. I think this is an 18 episode season. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong on that one. We're done. We're done for the year. Hold on. I didn't do this at the beginning because I didn't feel like I needed it for the full episode. But let's just hold space for a moment for Buddy Cannon 2025 because it didn't happen. Pray for 2026. Oh, almighty God, please enlighten our writers and our showrunners into seeing what they have very clearly led us to believe to be this great couple, and please open their eyes to what we all can see is a beautiful couple that deserves to go canon, and let them see the light in the grand new year of 2026, because it would serve all of us so well to see this representation on television. Amen. Please. Buddy Cannon 2026 is what the streets are saying. I'm still here. I said I would give up after season 7, I think. I'm still here, baby. I'm still here. But yeah, pacing's been off. Pacing's been super off. And I'm really holding out hope for 9B. Obviously, there's nothing else to do but have hope. So what did you think of the episode? What did you think of this first half of the season? What are you expecting in the second half of the season? What do you want to do over hiatus? Because we don't have a long hiatus, but we do still have a hiatus. I've got some ideas, but you let me know what you would like because I kind of flopped this summer. My apologies. I'm thinking about maybe doing somewhat of a Vlogmas. Not like an everyday Vlogmas, but like just vlogging in December because I think that might be fun. I don't know. Let me know. I'm very thankful that we got through this part of the season together, and we'll make it through next season together. And I love and appreciate you all, and I will see you in my next one.